When you look around at, our daily lives, at the smartphones basically glued to our hands, the massive glass skyscrapers, the high-speed delivery networks dropping packages at our doors in literally hours,
Hmm.
do you ever just stop and wonder, is this it?
Right. Like, have we made it?
Yeah. Like, do you feel like we are standing at the absolute peak of civilization? Or are we maybe just incredibly adept at building shiny infrastructure while completely ignoring the foundation it sits on? Welcome to today's deep dive. I'm your host.
And I'm your resident expert. And, that is a profound distinction to make right off the bat.
Because it really forces you to look past the surface level metrics, right?
Yeah, actually, you look past things like gross domestic product or uh, technological output, and you have to ask whether true progress is measured by the sophisticated tools we hold in our hands or, and this is key, by the psychological and moral condition of the hands holding them.
And that precise distinction is the entire focus of our deep dive today. We're examining chapter 13 from the book Thus Spoke Confucius by the philosopher Abdul Jabbar Al-Waily.
Yeah, specifically focusing on his essay on civilization, or Al-Hadara.
Right. So the mission for this deep dive is to help you decode what actually makes a society civilized, according to this text. We're going to, strip away the illusion of modern convenience and look at Al-Wali's blueprint for a genuine civilization.
We'll be exploring how he maps out the relationship between the material and the spiritual.
And dissect his totally contrarian thesis on the urban-rural divide.
Oh, that part is fascinating.
It really is. And we'll also get into the underlying logic of why a debt-free, modest life provides this psychological armor that a heavily mortgaged mansion never could.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's unpack this. To understand civilization through Al-Wali's framework, we first have to dissect its anatomy. I mean, he posits that civilization is composed of two fundamental layers, right? A body and a soul.
Yeah, that's the core premise upon which everything else in his essay is built. The body, which he categorizes as the lower tier, is entirely material.
So we're talking tangible stuff here.
Exactly. This encompasses your technology, your physical sciences, the flirteries, the roads, the skyscrapers. It's the tangible output of human labor. But the highest tier, the soul, is purely spiritual and moral.
Okay, so that would be...
That sphere contains literature, philosophy, ethics, the pure sciences, and the arts.
Thinking about this division, the most accurate modern analogy I can think of is a computer system.
Oh, I like that. How so?
Well, the physical infrastructure, like the fiber optic cables, the silicon chips, the sleek aluminum casing, that's just the hardware, that's the body.
Right.
But the culture, the ethics, the arts, the shared values, that is the operating system. That's the soul.
That is a perfect analogy.
Because you can manufacture the most expensive cutting-edge hardware on the planet, but if the operating system is corrupted...
We're missing entirely.
Exactly. If it's missing, the machine cannot function. It can't even tell you what time it is. It's just an intricate compilation of metal and glass.
That analogy really illustrates the mechanism of Al-Wali's argument beautifully. He asserts that while a civilization absolutely requires both layers to function, just as a human requires both a physical form and a consciousness, they aren't of equal value.
So one has to take the lead.
Yes.
Yep.
If a society is forced into a corner where it must prioritize one over the other, the soul, that spiritual and moral operating system, must take precedence.
But why is that the case? Because looking at modern statecraft, we spend the vast majority of our resources, our time, and our political capital optimizing the hardware.
We really do.
Are we just neurologically wired to prioritize the tangible over the intangible?
Well, we prioritize the tangible because it offers immediate measurable feedback. You build a bridge, you can see the bridge, but Al-Waily argues this is a miscalculation of what actually sustains human life.
How does he figure that?
He roots his argument in the concept that the ultimate objective of human existence is happiness. Material advancements, the hardware, only address our biological needs or, provide a superficial, fleeting comfort.
Like the hedonic treadmill.
Precisely. A faster car or a taller building provides a temporary dopamine spike, but it quickly becomes the new baseline. You get used to it.
Right, the novelty wears off.
Exactly. The spiritual and moral elements, however, address our existential needs. They provide purpose, resilience, and a durable framework for fulfillment that doesn't just erode because a newer model of technology was released.
That makes a lot of sense. But if we accept that the moral operating system is vital to our underlying stability, we have to look at how it interacts with the relentless, often chaotic expansion of modern material progress.
Yeah, the collision of the two.
Because observing the current global landscape, It frequently appears as though the two are locked in a zero-sum war. The prevailing narrative out there suggests you must choose a side.
Like you're either one or the other?
Exactly. Either you are a deeply principled, spiritual traditionalist, or you are a technologically advanced modern pragmatist.
It is arguably the defining anxiety of the modern era. But Al-Waily tackles this perceived war between religion or spiritual ethics and modernity head-on.
And just to be clear for everyone listening, as we analyze his philosophy here, we're objectively breaking down the concepts presented in the source text. We're not endorsing a specific religious or political worldview.
Right, purely academic analysis of his work. And from Al-Waily's perspective, there is zero inherent conflict between these two forces. None.
Really? None at all.
Nope. He says religion and ethics call for virtue, self-discipline, and a focus on the ultimate consequences of our actions. Meanwhile, modernity calls for scientific inquiry, cultural expansion, and the improvement of earthly conditions.
So he argues that they both share the exact same terminal objective, which is the general good of humanity.
Exactly. They're pulling in the same direction.
But the text is quite pointed in his diagnosis of where this supposed war actually comes from, isn't it? It places the blame squarely on the ignorant factions within both camps.
Yes. He observes that extremists on both sides, whether they're fiercely dogmatic individuals rejecting all modern scientific consensus,
Right.
or fiercely materialistic individuals dismissing all spiritual ethics as archaic. They end up driving a wedge between two spheres that are mechanically designed to be complementary.
And then they force the general population into a binary choice that fractures the society.
Precisely. They create a false contradiction.
I mean, I understand the theory behind that, but I have to challenge the practicality of it a bit.
Go for it.
Humans are inherently tribal creatures. We rely on categorization to make sense of the world, and it is almost a structural feature of modern politics and culture to pit traditionalism against progressivism to consolidate power.
Oh, absolutely. It's a very effective political tool.
Right. So it feels somewhat reductive to just state that the friction is caused by ignorance and that the two sides should simply recognize their shared goals. How does a society actually structurally balance that tension without completely collapsing under the weight of human tribalism?
That is a crucial counterpoint. And Al-Waily doesn't just offer an idealistic platitude to solve it. He provides a rigorous philosophical anchor.
Okay, what's his anchor?
He utilizes a quote from Imam Ali that serves as a functional blueprint for this balance. The quote is, "Work for your world as if you will live forever, and work for your afterlife as if you will die tomorrow."
Wow. Okay, let's break down the mechanics of how that actually operates in practice.
It operates by creating a dual processing framework in the human mind. Let's look at the first half. Work for your world as if you will live forever. That demands that you build infrastructure with lasting integrity.
Because you'll be around to use it forever.
Right. You pursue scientific discoveries that will benefit future generations and craft policies that ensure environmental sustainability. You do not cut corners because conceptually, you will be here to deal with the consequences forever.
Okay, and then the second half. Work for your afterlife as if you will die tomorrow. That introduces immediate, uncompromising ethical accountability. Because if you believe you will face ultimate judgment for your actions within 24 hours, you do not exploit your workers to build that infrastructure. You don't lie, and you don't cheat to get ahead.
Precisely. It neutralizes the tribalism you mentioned by demanding total commitment to both spheres simultaneously. True civilization, in Al-Waily's paradigm, doesn't oscillate between traditionalism and modernism.
It masterfully harmonizes them.
Exactly. It harmonizes the long-term vision of material progress with the immediate rigor of spiritual ethics.
Okay, so if a society successfully adopts this dual processing framework where the spiritual and material are balanced, that theoretical harmony has to yield a tangible result on the ground.
It does.
According to the text, that result is a radical leveling of social inequality.
Al-Waily argues that the ultimate metric of a civilization's progress is not the raw power of its government, the size of its military, or its gross domestic product.
It's none of the usual metrics.
None of them. The true diagnostic test of a civilization is the proximity of its social classes to one another.
And it is important to clarify the mechanism of this equality here. The text is not advocating for the suppression of ambition.
No, not at all.
Because he explicitly states that ambition and the drive for individual success are the primary engines of innovation. He's not calling for a society where everyone is forced into identical outcomes.
Right. He's defining a civilized society as one that completely eradicates the baseline suffering of poverty, hunger, and ignorance.
It's about establishing an impenetrable floor of human dignity.
Impenetrable floor. I like that.
A nation can't legitimately claim to be civilized, regardless of how advanced its technological hardware is, if a significant percentage of its population is subjected to systemic neglect.
And the text offers a highly specific, totally contrarian strategy for achieving this equitable distribution of resources.
Yeah, this was actually the most surprising pivot in the text for me.
The village solution.
Right. When we think of human progress, the historical narrative is inextricably linked to urbanization. The Industrial Revolution pulled people from the countryside into cramped urban centers for the sake of capital efficiency.
But Al-Waily argues that the ultimate solution for societal balance lies in the rural villages.
He completely inverts the standard model of development.
He really does. I mean, the traditional dynamic involves a continuous brain drain and resource drain from rural areas into the massive, crowded cities.
Because that's where the jobs are.
Exactly. That's where the economic opportunity, the advanced healthcare, and the educational infrastructure are all concentrated. And this leaves the rural populations economically depressed and culturally marginalized.
But Al-Waily's blueprint requires a civilization to bring the hardware of modernity. The advanced industry, the high-level educational institutions, the modern medical facilities, directly out to the rural areas.
His strategic objective is to elevate the rural standard of living to such a sophisticated degree that city dwellers actively choose to migrate to the countryside.
Wait, really? Like a reverse migration?
Yes, and the underlying logic here is profound. Humans desire the benefits of urban capital, the intellectual stimulation and economic mobility, but our neurology is not designed for the relentless pace, the noise, and the concrete isolation of a megacity.
Right. Our nervous systems basically crave the pace and the integration of the natural world.
Exactly. By decentralizing industry and bringing modern comforts to natural settings, a government accomplishes several things simultaneously.
It eases the crushing infrastructural burden on overstuffed cities, for one.
Right. It distributes wealth evenly across the geography of the nation, and it eliminates the psychological inferiority complex that rural populations often suffer from.
It basically predicts the modern remote work movement,
It really does.
where people seek a quieter life without sacrificing high-speed connectivity. But he frames it not merely as a lifestyle trend, but as a civilizational imperative.
And as we discuss decentralizing populations and building these upgraded rural spaces alongside our modern cities, Al-Waily introduces a critical warning about the aesthetics and the utility of what we construct.
Because bigger doesn't mean better.
Exactly. In his view, the sheer scale of a development does not equate to its civilizational value.
This brings us to his critique of what he calls the fake civilization.
Al-Hadara al-Zaifa.
Right. He defines a fake civilization as a society structurally obsessed with appearances. It's a culture that prioritizes the shell over the core.
The psychological mechanism driving a fake civilization is often an unaddressed inferiority complex.
How does that play out?
Well, when a developing nation or a society insecure about its global standing attempts to project power, it tends to overcompensate.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
It builds the tallest tower, the most imposing monument, or the most massive stadium purely as a vanity project, entirely divorced from utility or genuine architectural beauty.
It's like a novice developer looking at a world-class city and deciding to build a massive, glittering glass skyscraper, but completely skipping the process of pouring a deep concrete foundation.
Because the foundation is invisible.
Exactly. It looks modern and impressive from a distance, but the structural integrity is zero, and it doesn't actually serve the people living in its shadow.
That is an excellent way to visualize it. Al-Waily points out that genuine beauty in architecture and city planning is not a luxury. It serves a vital psychological function.
Authentic, purposeful beauty revitalizes the tired mind.
It fosters a sense of national pride and psychological security that cures those societal inferiority complexes we just talked about.
He also extends this concept of the fake civilization beyond just architecture and into the realm of cultural adoption, doesn't he?
He does.
He observes a dangerous trend where developing nations look at materially advanced, powerful countries and attempt to mimic their success by copying the wrong variables.
This is a devastating critique of superficial modernization. Instead of adopting the advanced nation's rigorous work ethic, their scientific methodology, or their structural organization, which, let's be honest, are very difficult to replicate.
Yeah, that's the hard stuff.
Right. They copy the advanced nation's cultural vices instead. They adopt their recklessness, their moral decay, or their abandonment of ethical frameworks.
Yeah. Operating under the deeply flawed assumption that the vices of a powerful nation are somehow the source of its power.
It's an illusion of progress. A truly educated, civilized society does not abandon its moral compass simply because it acquires a new level of technological capability.
According to the text, genuine education actually elevates faith and ethics. It grounds them in philosophy and scientific reality rather than superstition.
We've spent a considerable amount of time analyzing civilization on a macro scale, evaluating statecraft, urban planning, and societal inequality. But Al-Wiley's philosophy is deeply practical on a micro level as well.
How you and I actually live.
Exactly. He addresses how you, as an individual navigating this complex modern landscape, can distinguish the core from the shell in your own daily life.
He frames this personal navigation around the balance between work and leisure, right? Eljid and Allah. The text is very clear that both are biologically and psychologically necessary. I mean, work without leisure is a path to complete physical and spiritual burnout. The human body is not a machine designed for perpetual output.
But conversely, leisure without work removes the mechanism for your own sustenance and leaves you intellectually stagnant.
The specific danger he highlights is the gravitational pull of leisure.
Ignorant or unreflective individuals are frequently consumed entirely by leisure because it represents a low-friction state.
It demands nothing of you.
Exactly. It appeals to baseline desires and requires no intellectual rigor or challenge. But yielding to that low-friction state causes you to forfeit the profound, difficult opportunities of life.
So how do we combat that?
To combat this, Al-Waily demands the cultivation of what we can call durable discernment.
Durable discernment. I love that phrase. It's basically the application of precise, emotionless logic to your own decision-making process.
Right.
It's the ability to pause and weigh the compounding long-term benefits of an action against its immediate short-term pleasure.
Exactly. It's asking yourself, does this choice yield a lasting benefit that strengthens my foundation? Or is it merely a fleeting distraction that will leave me hollow tomorrow?
The text brings the absolute necessity of this discernment to life through a brilliant financial analogy.
The two houses.
Yes. Al-Waily asks the reader to compare two different individuals. Person A resides in a massive, luxurious mansion that projects immense wealth, but they are drowning under the cognitive and financial load of the debt required to maintain it.
Every unexpected expense, every shift in the economy induces panic.
Exactly. Then you have person B, who resides in a modest, appropriately sized home. It's not going to win any architectural awards, but they own it outright.
They have zero debt.
Zero debt, and consequently, they possess complete peace of mind.
Now, the society suffering from the illusion of the fake civilization will unconditionally applaud person A.
Because they just see the shell.
Right. They measure the external shell, the square footage, the aesthetic projection, and they categorize that as success. But the logical, truly civilized mind analyzes the core reality of the situation.
The mansion is not a home. It's a beautifully decorated prison built out of financial obligations. You are sacrificing your actual autonomy, your freedom, and your psychological health just to project a specific image to a society that is too distracted to even care.
Al-Waily demands that we apply this uncompromising logic to evaluate both our personal choices and the collective progress of our society.
So it scales up.
It does. The ultimate metric of any decision, whether it's taking on personal debt to finance a lifestyle or a government passing a sweeping piece of legislation, is the reality of its results.
Not the marketing.
Not the marketing, not the aesthetic projection, but the actual lived consequence. Did this action demonstrably increase human stability and happiness, or did it merely introduce a new layer of anxiety?
So as we synthesize Al-Waily's blueprint for civilization from Chapter 13, the central thesis is abundantly clear. True civilization cannot be reduced to its hardware.
No, it cannot.
The towering skyscrapers, the instantaneous global communication, the complex logistics networks, these are impressive achievements, but they are merely the body. The true defining mark of a civilized society is the integrity of its software.
It is the unwavering commitment to a baseline of human dignity and social justice. It's the structural ability to harmonize the rigorous demands of spiritual and moral ethics with the rapid expansion of modern progress, ensuring they feed into each other rather than engaging in a war of attrition.
It's the decentralization of opportunity, ensuring that the dignity of rural life is elevated and that progress isn't just hoarded within the confines of a few urban megacenters.
Absolutely.
And on an individual, deeply personal level, it's the disciplined application of durable discernment, the courage to choose quiet peace of mind over a loud, anxiety-ridden existence built on a foundation of debt and superficial appearances.
It is crucial to internalize that you and I, the listeners, we're not passive observers in this process. We are the architects.
Yeah.
Every choice you make regarding what you value, how you balance your labor and your leisure, and what you define as genuine success, writes the code for that civilizational operating system.
Which brings us to a final provocative thought to leave you with as we wrap up this deep dive. Al-Waily's text serves as a stark warning against the catastrophic danger of building a massive, incredibly powerful body of a civilization while leaving its soul entirely neglected.
It's a very timely warning.
It really is. Because as we look at the world today, we are standing on the precipice of the artificial intelligence revolution. We are currently pouring billions of dollars and our absolute best intellectual resources into building the most complex, powerful, and autonomous technological body in the history of human existence.
The hardware is scaling at an exponential rate.
It is. But the question you have to mull over is this.
Hmm.
Who is doing the rigorous, necessary work to ensure we are coding a soul big enough and ethical enough to guide it?